Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. So, today I want to talk about the Type M1943, and this is, if not for one factor, actually a nice ship. I think it looks kind of reasonably well, which is, an aesthetic factor, but when it comes to how valuable it is in the fight, I think this is one of those ships that get a very low grade. By itself, it's nothing wrong with the ship itself, but where it is put into. So it is the German premium alternative to the Z20 Carl Galster. And when you talk about alternatives, you have to realize one thing. When I recently talked about the MBK PR186, I think that I made clear that I personally really like it, and that I think it should be a alternative. You should actually think about buying it. I hope I made it clear with the gameplay, with the sort of positioning, explaining certain game mechanics and how to make the armor valuable and who to shoot with which shell type. The PR7 Usteroini is not a very good destroyer in my opinion in the direct confrontation versus a Z20 Kalgalster or the Cowell or the Haida. It kind of lags the DPM. When then we come with the Type M 1943, we have throughout all the nations, for the Americans, for the Germans here with this ship, for the Russians and also for the British, rank 2 alternative in terms of premium. And while I like really the Fairmile D5001 and also in particular the MBK PR186, this one gets a very bad grade because it doesn't spawn with the patrol boats. That is ultimately its undoing. It has to spawn on the destroyer spawn, and that means if you combine the lack of armor, the lack of firepower, DPM, gun caliber, alpha strike, durability in general, the raised ammo rack here, and just the pathetic speed of 31 kilometers an hour, you kind of see where this is going. Very often you're just going in a straight line trying to reach the far cap, but then a patrol boat from one of the patrol boat spawns is much earlier there, caps it, and then you have nothing to do and you have nothing to shoot. The problem is if there are enemy destroyers spawning, you have something to shoot, but they have also something to shoot, and that is you, and you will not win that fight. So already this ship would kind of be a stinker as a normal tech tree ship, but as a premium, I absolutely 100% cannot recommend it. I'm sorry about this, and there is one thing that Gaijin could do to give this ship more value, and this is by letting it spawn with the patrol boats. Aha, you might say, but that is a problem. Then the patrol boats suffer from it. You see, you are right on this point. On the other hand, I have to say, patrol boats already suffer from some of the ships, namely the Fairmile, the MBK, the LCS L3 in particular, Type 140, 141, and some of the bigger Alco PT boats. They're already ruffle stomping some of the lower PT boats. And so Gaijin actually should really think about making the PT boat area bigger, denying the destroyers to get in there so easily, and furthermore kind of de-stresses the compression in terms of technology, firepower and durability or overall combat value that we have there, and just make the PT boat area larger in the terms that you do not automatically spawn camp the enemy spawn by being in the capture zone, which is the actual point of interest, which is the objective. And this is where, again, such a ship just shows what has to be reworked, in my opinion, with the naval beta still in War Thunder. And so I hope I make this clear. The two gameplays that I have for you were very favorable in my opinion, because it was on the Mediterranean port in a full down tier. So I was top tier. I could shoot up the enemies from long range with the 105mm guns. And again, overall, nothing too wrong with the ship, but it is not an MBK PR186. So let's have a look at the gameplay. So I go right into the fight on the Mediterranean port, and it took me 4 minutes to go to this position, and I just began to open the firefight, a few seconds before I start another recording. And again, before that, 4 minutes of sailing in a straight line without doing anything, without having any sort of impact onto the gameplay. And this is a map that is very, very beneficial for everything that spawns on the destroyer spawn, and that kind of tells you a lot. Very often people say to me, well, you should show then also the bad stuff. But if there is nothing that I can do, if I'm just sailing for 10 minutes in a straight line and then at best capping one capture zone, that's not really worth showing. It's boring. And then I would get comments like, you're doing it all wrong, while me actually not doing anything wrong. And there is just so much that I can show within a 20-minute video and can talk about. There are so many more details, like the gun handling, the vulnerability of the ammo rack, the close quarters environment, and also the lack of armor, making it comically vulnerable to enemy HE fire, even from patrol boats, and having to get into a very, very beneficial position in the first place to actually profit from the rather big guns. But then, to be honest, for the majority of situations, I'd wish I had, a pair of 40mm Bofors like an LCS. I wish I'd be faster. I'd wish I spawned with the patrol boats. And not every map looks like this. The most ridiculous thing is if you spawn with this thing on the Norwegian map and have to fight, all the premium destroyers. They just see you as gun food. Your guns don't have the rate of fire, your guns don't have the DPM, therefore all the alpha strike capabilities. The enemy has more guns, better gun handlings, bigger ship surface to soak it up. Even at some point they have parts that are armored, that very often can neglect the effect of high explosive shells, or from those 105mm high explosive shells. So in particular, this ship is by default not bad again, but where it is put in is bad. So Gaijin could easily again change it by switching a switch and let this thing spawn with the patrol boats, and even then it's not guaranteed to be successful and easy to use. Make no mistake, this ship struggles, and this is the very best gameplay that I managed to do. Yes, it's a lot of firework, and yes, I could potentially switch here to the 37s and out DPM him, but I wanted to test the 105mm guns, and they are not that reliable. Their accuracy is not right there where I wanted. The muzzle velocity is not all that great. The ship just doesn't feel to be fun, and the overall income that I managed to do is not even a quarter on average what I got with other PT boats, with other premium destroyers. So for me, this is more a collector's item, but not a real serious player. Don't get me wrong, it can perform if put into the right situation, but this situation where you can use your long-range firepower is rather rare. You cannot rely on it. If a ship requires to go into a preferential situation in the first place, that tells you a lot about the overall capabilities of this ship. What will come in the future when more nations find their way into War Thunder, when there will be the start of power creep, when more compression will come in? I think this ship is not really future proof. On the other hand, if you put it with the PT boat spawn, its value drastically increases to a degree where I could say, yes, it's a potential pick if you wanna cheap out and just want to go to the destroyers. Then maybe yes, but the turrets have no armor, they take a long time to repair, and if one is knocked out, well, if one is knocked out, you lose half your firepower. That is just something that you rarely experience with the MBK PR186 because the turrets are armored. This is something that you rarely really experience with the LCS because of the turret placement or the type 140, 141. They just don't suffer from the same issues. And this is just something that I hope I can make clear to you. And as you can see, I just sailed in a straight line for a long period of time, for nearly 10 minutes now, and I just have come so far. I was not able to capture a point. I cannot react to threats quickly, and an example will come up right now. So I'm already down half my crew, and then a ship is there behind me. I just overlooked it because I looked into another portion. I concentrated on a ship behind me. Now I realize that he's there, and he guns me down with 50 caliber machine guns. And just a split second before I would pull the trigger, I get knocked out. Yeah, that was by 50 cals. Next battle, please. So this is now on the Norwegian map, and I already have cut out 4 minutes of just sailing in the straight line before I actually managed to get a shot away in the first place. This long range grey box shooting here is not a first action that I overall take. So for me, the gameplay is dull. There is not a lot of action, and the ship just has no real advantage that would make it worth over its opponents in my books. It's dull, it's boring, it's just, takes time away from you that you could spend other way having fun in the naval, in the naval beta with a premium destroyer, with a regular Tech 3 vehicle, and even a regular Tech 3 vehicle that you have more fun in and spade and research better like the predecessor. You have more fun and it's more valuable. And again, this is now just from the 20mm fire. I took some damage. Now I try to get here the shots in. I agree that my aim could be a bit better, but I managed to get things done in other ships. I managed to rack up the kills in other ships, even though they might not be the flavor of the month, or people think that they are bad. According to the comments in my comment section from also private messages over Discord or within War Thunder over YouTube, people have their different opinions, but the substantial fact that this ship just spawns on the destroyer spawn and is that slow, there is no skill involved in terms of overcoming this issue. You just simply can't. Add to this then the problems with the survivability and the requirement of staying at long range. You can see what I can do to this ship here. But then, thanks to the damage model, it requires me to hit certain sections of the ship, and while the first salvo was really impressive, it took me now several salvos to blacken another section of the ship, and it was this lucky strike and this lucky dispersions of the shell and this lucky guy just completely ignoring me, where then I got an assist out of it. That just tells you a lot. And it's really frustrating. Very often a plane comes in, you can do nothing about it, and while you might kill the plane, the bomb is already in the air. It happened to me so often. It is so frustrating, and the few battles that I gathered that I just thought to myself, well, okay, now I can show you some gameplay, is the best that I could do. And I didn't survive the battles. I didn't get any of the awards. The income was also not very good. Again, the combat value of this ship is pathetic. And look at this. Oh, is he already captured by a patrol boat coming from the patrol boat cap, because they are 3 times as quick for having roughly the same distance. That is what you have to face over and over and over and over again. And this is what turns me away from the ship. Now let's discuss what the ship could do if Gaijin would give it the PT boat spawn, which in my opinion is just fair. Again, comparing it to the Fairmile or the MBK PR186 that are better in certain aspects, like Fairmile in the rate of fire and speed, MBK PR186 having armored turrets and protected citadel, which makes it not so easy for enemies to knock it out, especially with only high explosive. The playstyle would be kind of similar to the MBK PR186 in that respect, that it would stay at long range for PT boat measures and just gun down the enemy patrol boats. However, it could be easily countered because it still has no armor. So again, the combat value would still be lower than the one of the MBK PR186. And I think this is the final statement of this ship. There you can see the enemy is coming towards me, and a bomb actually explodes next to the ship, knocks out my propulsion, sets me on fire and kills one of the torpedo tubes, and I lose a lot of crew as well. So now I have to extinguish the fire, I have to repair, and I'm like, you know, dead in the water. So at this point I'm lucky that there are some enemies that I can hopefully shoot at longer ranges, and then I get distracted by some patrol boats, and those small patrol boats, you have a lot of problems dealing with them, and then I find this end. I actually got rocketed by a PR1124 MLRS, and a single rocket strike together with the single near miss of a bomb made me die. That's it for me today for this ship, and I hope you could see that I'm not really excited about this. This has nothing to do with Russian bias or, you know, Gaijin doing something wrong with German ships, because the Z20 is simply a very good destroyer, and in this respect I would give 9.5 points to the Z20 and just 0.5 points to the to this ship, the Type M1943. So whoever had problems with this ship and already bought it, you only can hope that Gaijin kind of changes the spawn, and that'll be it. That's it from me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this video despite the gameplay. I hope you enjoyed my commentary. Please give it a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this ship and fighting it, and we'll see each other on the waves of War Thunder.